Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining the Config Teams webinar introducing PreBilt. My name's Kevin, and I'll be your host today. Just before I pass you over to our presenters, a couple of quick housekeeping points. The webinar will be recorded and distributed after the session. If you have any questions, can you please submit them via the chat, and we'll have time for Q&A afterwards, either to address them on this call or directly with yourselves. I am now passing you over to Jeff Gray.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning or good afternoon to everyone, wherever you may be in the world. So many thanks for joining this webinar, and today we're going to talk to you about PreBilt, which is our out-of-the-box mobile solution for the SAP supply chain. Okay, so I'm going to be joined by Danny. So just to do a brief introduction of myself and Danny. So my name is Jeff Gray. I'm the product manager for the Config team. My background is from a functional perspective, so I've done a lot of SAP implementations within the supply chain space, within IM, WM, and EWM. I'm responsible for our software solutions, which we'll talk to you a bit more about this morning. I'm joined by Danny Clark, who's our pre-sales consultant, and Danny's got a lot of extensive knowledge from an operational standpoint, but also from an SAP perspective too. He's going to lead our demonstration today. From an agenda standpoint, we're going to cover the following. So I'm going to give you a brief background and context of who are the Config team. We're going to do an introduction to the PreBilt product itself. We're then going to do a demonstration that's going to cover a number of use cases and what value PreBilt can provide. We'll then talk about rapid deployment and how quickly the solution can be implemented. And then finally, we're going to finish up with a Q&A session. Okay. So, who are the Config team? So, the Config team, we're a UK-based organisation that specialise in SAP within the supply chain. Okay, we've got three parts of our business. We've got SAP consultancy, so implementations of SAP technologies into warehousing, manufacturing, and distribution, but also a process improvement and looking where we can really drive operational efficiency within the supply chain. We have enhanced solutions. So we've got three core products at the Config team. One of them is PreBilt, which we're going to talk to you about today, but we also have two other products, one being coding control, which is an IoT-based product linking SAP directly to shop floor devices. So things like pallet labeling solutions, things like connecting vision systems, and it's all around that seamless link from SAP down to the shop floor. We finally have iDoc Management Console. So this is around integrating SAP into other third-party systems and making the use of iDocs and managing iDocs as simple as possible and focusing on that operational side and taking away the technical complexity of interfacing. As we have products and solutions in consultancy, we also provide support. So round-the-clock support to 24 hours. So everything that we deliver, we also support, and that real focus on supply chain expertise is really important. We've got over 90 people in the team, all coming from supply chain and operational backgrounds, really focusing on that expertise and that knowledge within there. We're an SAP Gold partner and also invested people in Gold. Now, we talked about the enhanced solutions, but we also have a very strong implementation team. We actually have a dedicated software development team as well, and we'll talk about that as innovation is really important in terms of making SAP as simple to use, but also bringing in the right technologies and providing that hardware link to SAP to really drive that operational efficiency. Okay, so we come from a supply chain background, but we our core modules being IM, WM, and EWM, but we work across the different areas of SAP as well. So whether that's finance, whether that's QM, that's sales and distribution, production planning, or transportation management, we've got a lot of depth of expertise within the team. Okay, so we are UK based, but we do have a global reach. Okay, so we work across the world with partners. And driving different supply chain solutions into different parts of the world. Okay, we've got a lot of specialist knowledge within different industries as well. We've done a lot of different work within industries, whether it's food and beverage and things like traceability and batch management being really important, to automotive and specialized parts. through to consumer goods, pharmaceutical and track and trace, but all over different areas of SAP. And this diverse knowledge has also allowed us to understand the different builds and the complexity that SAP provides, and being able to implement it really, really well. Okay, so we're just going to now start off with a poll. The first poll we're going to look at today is how are you currently managing your SAP supply chain processes? Whether this is goods in, whether it's picking, whether it's packing, whether it's dispatch. So if you could just select one of the following, whether using manual or paper-based solutions, using mobile solutions, or a combination of both or other. So just going to give us a few moments now and if you could all please input into this for us. Thank you. Any moment now.
So I can see the results coming through here. We have around 30% manual paper-based, 15% mobile, and 44% combination of both. Okay, so it's very interesting. There's still a lot of paper within the supply chain, and there's a combination there of manual paper-based mobile solutions and a combination of both. So that's really interesting. Okay, thank you, Kevin. So we're going to now look at PreBilt, which is our out-of-the-box mobile solution for the SAP supply chain. Okay, so typically when we're talking to customers, and from the conversation we've had, these are the 3 key areas of challenge that we see. So existing mobility solutions, so these are typically complex, hard to use, not intuitive, and also have challenges around warehouse black spots. So a typical use case might be where an operator is moving stock from one side of the warehouse to another. They may get kicked off, have to log in and repeat that business process, which also always adds challenges with productivity. Complex training requirements as well. So especially in industries such as food and beverage, where there may be seasonal demand, and you might have to onboard and upskill key workers very quickly. Being a very complex and hard to understand solution can really add to that training time. We still see an awful amount of paper within the supply chain or manual systems such as Excel being used. All these lead to things like data inaccuracies, excess paperwork. So, things around errors can lead from this, but also can affect productivity as well. And then finally, complex architecture. So we still see a lot of, the industry standard is around a lot of the time building custom solutions. These require functional specs, ABAP resource, can be complex to deliver, and also can add risk to the business. And that time to deploy to provide the operation with the benefit can be fairly lengthy. Also in today's world now, where there's so much change and supply chains are having to adapt, that lack of flexibility and that rigidity within solutions is also something that we see fairly often. And again, if there's any changes to mobile solutions, they often need change requests, ABAP resource included, and that time again to make those changes can be lengthy. Okay, so some of the existing mobility solutions, so things like ITS Mobile that you see on the left, this really looks outdated. It's complex, it's difficult to understand. There's a lot of SAP acronyms on that screen, and this is SAP's standard mobile solution for WM, stockroom management in S4, and EWM. Okay, and there's no plan at the moment to replace that in the roadmap. So what we're really looking at is making the mobile solutions as simple as possible to use, and moving from the left-hand side of the screen onto the right, and making it much more intuitive, simple, clean, and easy. Okay, so why PreBilt? Okay, so we talked before around paperwork in the supply chain. It's all around moving as much paperwork as possible. Okay, and moving to paperwork affects errors, it affects productivity, and making it really simple and a real-time solution is really key to moving that. It's about reduction in stock take time. So on average 70+%,
and it's around getting the stock accuracy with that real-time solution as close to that 100% as possible. Okay. We talked before in the previous slide around ITS Mobile and making mobile solutions as slick, as easy to understand, or as less noise on screen. Also removing the amount of clicks that might be needed or scans to complete a business process. And that's, improving and increasing that productivity to on average around 30%. Okay. We talked before around the training requirements and, around making mobile solutions as simple and easy as possible and making that from days to hours or minutes to get people onboarded with the mobile solution and being able for these warehouse operatives to start adding value to the business very quickly. And overall, on average, to improve that operational efficiency to around 25%. Okay. So pre-built. So these are out of the box, highly configurable mobile applications for the SAP supply chain. So wherever there is stock within SAP, we have applications that can deliver real-time benefit to the operation. Okay. So things from purchase order or purchase requisition approval to things like goods in, goods receipt, whether that's an inbound delivery, scheduling agreement, to full end-to-end warehouse management within IM, WM, and EWM. So receiving, picking, cycle counting, replenishment, stock moves, all these types of core business processes are needed to drive the operation. We also have solutions on the outbound side and things like last mile delivery. So not just finishing at the end of the goods out area, but also delivering that end to end and providing that overall visibility across the supply chain. We've got applications around production, manufacturing and plant maintenance and quality management as well. And everything that's underpinned here is around our analytics framework and being able to see real-time key information of what's going on in the operation. We'll come on to that in a bit more depth shortly. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Danny now, who's going to take us through a demonstration of the product. We're going to use a couple of use cases or examples of the capability that PreBilt can offer. Danny, I'm just going to hand over to you now. Thank you.
Excellent. Many thanks, Jeff. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the demonstration for PreBilt. So before we get started, so PreBilt is device agnostic and can run on multiple different device types. So if your supply chain utilizes different devices across your whole supply chain, PreBilt can use one solution that could be deployed across all of them. So as it's device agnostic, it runs on mobiles, tablets, ruggedized handheld, forklift mounts, head mounts, and wall boards. Also as well, it's a very future-proof solution because as you develop a layout for today, as your operation moves and progresses and you change device types, PreBilt can come along as well with you and just be configured very quickly to fit those new devices. It's also as well runs on ECC and S/4HANA, which we'll cover in a bit more detail shortly. So when we go through the demonstration, we're going to go through the process storyboard first. So we'll take the role of the operator and I'll show you step by step what that person's doing. I'm also as well using a ruggedized handheld device, which is so I'll be utilizing the barcode scanning features, as well as the built-in camera and touchscreen as well. Then once I've done the process in PreBilt, I will jump back into SAP just to validate some of the processes. So if I've taken an image or I've posted a goods receipt, I'll just jump into SAP and show you what the interaction is with SAP. This is not an essential step of the process, it's just to validate what we've done. So we're going to begin with a goods receipt process. So the inbound delivery has arrived on site. The ASN has already been received. So the pallets and the products are already known to the site. So the warehouse manager is currently in a meeting and just checks their device and looks at the analytics application. And within there, they go and see the inbound deliveries and outbounds, and they see that the inbound deliveries are now in red, that they've gone past the amber threshold and is now starting to impact other deliveries. And we can see the outbound deliveries, they're falling behind on the amount being picked. So notifies the team leader that they need to focus on the inbound deliveries to bring these back into control. So it starts off then, the operator logs onto their device and begins to start the process of the inbound delivery. So going into goods receipt, they can scan or type the document number and then use a reference document here. We're using the purchase order as the example. And then we'll continue and jump in and see. So we can see the delivery and the vendor, and we can also as well view the basket and see the pallets that are packed on it. So operator then scans that first label, whether it's the product label or the pallet label, and then they can add that to the basket. I'm just going to show you the basket again, just to show that that's updated. Although we can see the pallet count has changed, you can see that there is a mark now verifying that handling unit. So we'll scan the second pallet, and we'll also add this to the basket. And then we'll just view the basket one more time. So this is now the process is completed. All the goods are now unloaded to the goods receipt area, and the operator now just selects save, which sends the post-goods receipts information through to ERP. So we'll just look. This is in VL31N, and 33N. We go in and we check the overall status, so we can see that the goods receipt has been completed. Okay, so there's no middleware. It's linking directly from PreBilt into SAP. So the warehouse manager again is just keeping an eye on those KPIs and just watching now that they're going the right way. So it's dropped from the red amber and is now into red as an alert, now into amber. So the process is starting to move in the correct way. So what we're going to do is the operator, having now unloaded the pallets to the goods receipt area, an operator on put away duties is now going to put those pallets to their end destinations. So they've scanned the label or the product code, and they've now been given a destination which they've confirmed. So we'll just do that and do the second pallet so that both pallets are away, and confirm this one into location 275. Now on the part of put away, the operator actually notices that there's a leaky quality issue on one of the products, and is now going to notify using the document capture application. Now we're using the purchase order here as the example, but you could use it against the pallet number itself or against the transfer order. There's multiple different scenarios you could use this. So using the device's camera, I'm going to capture an image of that pallet in situ in the location, and we're going to upload that now to SAP. So we've also got other things we can do here by either adding comments or using the sign on glass feature, or uploading images that we've captured on the camera. So at this point, we're just going to use touchscreen. So I'm going to capture a signature and put the signee's name, which will form part of a watermark. So this is now uploaded to SAP also. So that's the signature and the image captured. So if we look in ME23N and look in that purchase order, in the Services for Objects tab, we can see we have an attachments list, and we have the signature and the image. So these are scenarios where we're using it on the inbound process, but you could use these on other processes, which Jeff will talk about shortly. Okay, so we've gone through the process so far of goods receipting a vehicle and unloading to the goods receipt area. We've done the put away processes, and we've also done the document capture, so reporting those issues. The last thing left to do now is to physically move the pallets, well, that one pallet from 275 to a damages like quality control area. So the operator does this by going into the internal storage section, into bin to bin, and then scans that pallet label. And then we can see the current storage bin of 275. We're going to scan the quality bin, and we've checked the confirm immediately box. So this is creating and confirming the transfer order in one quick and easy step. So this is updating directly in SAP in real time. So if we just do a stock inquiry using the stock app, and we can then see that it's updated the storage bin to quality. Okay, we could also as well, using the stock inquiry application, jump directly to bin as well, as you can see from the icon at the bottom of the screen. So this is showing you the real-time connection with SAP. So we looked at the PreBilt for Analytics at the start. Jeff talked about where it underpinned all of the processes, and then we showed it with the warehouse manager in a meeting, being able to see that the up-to-date process, the information coming from SAP for their relevant plant. We can also break these down into different types of roles. So whereas you have a supply chain manager that needs to see more of a holistic view of the entire operation, so looking at the production plants as well as the distribution centers, and being able to compare things like the delivery and the warehouse performances. Also looking at production supply and the overall capacity and utilization of each of these buildings. But also the on time in full measure as well is really important on overall performance. You can then also drill down to a warehouse manager or warehouse specific view that is looking at things like the critical deliveries, which we showed earlier, or the open or completed tasks, the operator performances, things like stock in transit, or the cycle counting, inventory counting statuses. And being able to see that on those red, amber, green tiles just shows you where exactly you need to focus your resources to bring your operation back under control. You also, as well, we're seeing a trend of large wall boards being put in warehouses in a particular area, like a quality inspection area, to show the number of inspection lots that are open and pending, and also as well anything like for inbound or outbound deliveries where you have vehicles waiting on doors or due to arrive, showing whether you're on or off track. But we can even drill down even further and give a KPI as well to the operators where they can view their own performance and see whether they're meeting their daily targets. And that's where we can link to potential gamification as well, which we'll discuss shortly. So we've mentioned that the pre-built solution is highly configurable. So this is just an example here of a picking transaction and what we can do to make that more, how we can influence it and change the screens just using that simple configuration. So on the left-hand side, we have the configuration, and on the right-hand side, we have the device. So we can see that there's a section there that without any hint text for the pick HU. So this is ideally a prompt for the operator to create a pick HU. So by just adding that hint text and then saving and then go back into the document, you can see we now have a create pick HU. Also, we want to remove fields as well. So it's very quick and easy to hide and manipulate fields. So we can see the line, it's on line 1, position 2. We're now going to just hide that field. So take it off the screen and change what the view looks like. So again, it's just saved. You just have to back out once from the transaction and then go back in, and the change is then shown. So we removed that transfer order item. Now, if we want to move a field into that position, so material is looking pretty bunched up there, so we can actually change that. So we'll put that to line 1 and then change it to position 2. And again, just save it and back out and go back in again, and we'll see the changes that have been made. This is just giving you that future-proof solution that should you change devices or use multiple different device types, you can configure very quickly a solution to meet it. Also, as well, if we want to pull out key information such as the storage bin or serial number or batch information, we can change the color, change the size to really make that pop out on screen and give it, again, that whole easier user experience. Okay. So I'm now going to hand back over to Jeff to go back through the technical framework.
Thank you very much, Danny, for that excellent demonstration. And I was just saying to myself, hopefully that gave you a bit of an insight in terms of the capability of what the pre-built product can offer, and some of the flexibility as well in terms of the configuration, but how agile you can be with making changes and not having to rely on ABAP resource or lengthy timelines to deliver that change to the operation. So just going to talk through some of the technical capability now. So the approach to pre-built is around pre-packaged applications made up of bricks. And some of the examples that Danny showed today, one of the applications is called stock movements, and that's where Danny showed the bin to bin. That application basically can be configured in a number of different ways and to be used in different parts of the business. So as a principle, we have a code once, use multiple approach to this. So that stock movement application can be used at put away, it can be used as a bin to bin, it can be used at picking, it can be used in lots of different areas, and we're not having to have separate code bases, it's just configuration for that solution. Okay, we can also group the bricks together as well, so we can link applications together. So Danny talked about goods in with the picture capture. So as part of the goods in process, we can link in, capture an image, and then go back into the goods receipt transaction. So we've got lots of flexibility and capability to either deliver these applications separate or link them together to provide a simplistic business process. Okay, so from a technical stack overview, we talked before, we've got, obviously this is SAP, so the solution's delivered in ECC or S4. We've obviously got the base framework, the configuration framework, all the base functionality as well. So we talked about things like the applications, but we also have wider functions as well. So we've got things like barcode decoder to validate barcodes, and we've got the analytics. So, but we've got a lot of capability in terms of what we provide as a base offering. We've got our platform partners as well. So we work with Mobilizer, we work with Mendix, and we work with Neptune as our free platforms. And then we have the device and the user interface itself. Okay, so this will be a client on a device, and these are the technical components of what our pre-built product is. Okay, so from a product roadmap perspective, we work very closely with SAP as well. We work with our product management teams in terms of understanding where SAP is going and what the functionality they're providing, and where we can really align strategically with them to deliver functionality for the different supply chain modules. Some of the key areas that we're focusing on from a roadmap perspective is things like integrating into new pieces of hardware. So we work with Honeywell, we work with Zebra, we work with DataLogic, and some examples at the moment is that we're working, or we have a Zebra HD 4000 device and a RealWear device, and we've got proof of concepts to be able to provide specific use cases, things like picking and that hands-free approach. Okay. One of the other areas that we're really focused on is gamification as well. So one of the things is around motivating and empowering workforces. So whether that's physical inventory or picking, also adding value in terms of what gamification can bring to an operation. The other area as well as IoT and linking into different types of devices and hardware, whether that's coding control or things like RTLS and that real-time location services. So there's a lot of capability that we're also bringing into the product with pre-built. Okay, so just in summary, really, we might have mentioned out of the box once or twice. So it's really the focus on configuration, flexibility, and taking away that ABAP development to be able to deliver solutions very quickly. The focus is really on the operations. It's simplifying the user experience, so removing fields that are not wanted, taking away some of the SAP acronyms, and making it really focused on seamless processes using a mobile solution, okay, and that world-class UI. Also providing enhanced functionality as well. So SAP does not have a standard solution for inventory management, okay, and with warehouse management, there's a lot of there's not a lot of capability within the way that can link into inventory management as well. We also talked about this robust connection handling with real-time data to and from back SAP, and also the black spots too, and taking away that, so it's not an irritation to the operational teams. We've talked about being able to use all the device features. So image capture, image display, we've seen use cases at goods in for vendor conformance, for discrepancies. We've seen use cases around physical inventory for, when there's a discrepancy in a bin, being able to take a picture, a warehouse supervisor not having to come out and check that. They can see it at their desktop from the machine. And things like loading as well. So being able to take a picture of the load before it goes out. So there's that traceability, that evidence, and that audit trail centralized back into that SAP system. And finally, analytics and KPIs. So that live lens into the supply chain, being able to have that full end-to-end visibility of what's going on, where the problem areas are, what the bottlenecks are, and being able to really redirect the workforce to make sure that the supply chain is working as efficient as possible. Okay, so we're going to go on to poll 2. So within this poll, we're going to look at how long do you think a mobility project would take? So obviously once it's signed off, so would we say 3 days? Would we say 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, or over 12 months? So I'll just give it a moment or two for people to input their answers, hopefully.
Just seeing those votes come in now. Apologies, you can't see it on your screen. So we've got the majority, around 40%, are saying 6 months, around 25% around 3 months. So 3 to 6 months is the typical response there.
Okay, that's really interesting. 3 to 6 months, and that, you know, that's a trend that we're seeing quite a lot. So we'll talk about that in a bit more as we go forward too. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Okay, so just following on from that poll, so you know what PreBilt is an out-of-the-box product. It's proven within the industry. We've got over 20,000 users using the solution globally. We've been going, this has been running since 2015 when we had our first go live. We've got global deployments around the world, from UK to New Zealand to the US. And customers are also rolling this out. So some customers start with one pilot site, and now are using this globally within their organization, within different types of manufacturing plants or distribution centers. And some of our customers now have over 1,000 users. The one key point I want to make on this is that we also, this is an out-of-the-box solution, and it can be deployed really quickly. So we have got live examples from initial contact with a customer to be going live within their production system in SAP in 3 weeks. So it just shows some of the capability that we've got. Just on top of that, we're currently actually implementing, in 2 of our customers have just raised, expanding this out, and they're actually from start to scratch. They're actually 2 weeks into their QA system and now doing user acceptance testing. So, it just gives you the flavor of how quickly we can get this up and running within your operation. Okay, so just to reiterate some of the key points, we talked about, it's about removal of paperwork, it's around that operational efficiency, and it's around that increase in productivity. So we've got some live, some of our customers actually, some fantastic comments and how it's benefited them and their operation. So I just really urge you to get in touch and see how we can help you within your business, and how we can simplify and make SAP as easy to use as possible. I'm just going to hand over back to Kevin now, who's going to do the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you, Danny, for the demonstration. So as just said, if you have any questions, please do reach out to us. You can contact us at prebuilt@theconfigteam.co.uk. We've had a few questions sent in directly. If you do want to submit a question, you can still have time to via the chat option on your right-hand side. So first question, Danny and Jeff, is: does PreBilt support Z codes and Z tables?
That's an excellent question, Kevin. Thank you. So yes, PreBilt does. So the way we build the applications is that they're really flexible. So obviously we use a lot of the SAP standard methodology to linking in the function modules and BAPIs and things like that in the background. But what we've also done is we've added a lot of enhancement points within the application, so they can be extended really easily. So, where there is a Z table or Z functionality that you need to call, we can use these enhancement points to extend and bring in those Z fields very quickly to support your specific requirements.
Thanks, Jeff. Next question is: do you offer free trials? Do you offer trials of PreBilt?
Yes, we do. So, there's a number of ways that we can work with customers, whether that's a proof of concept within like a development or a sandbox system to prove the technology, or for things like doing pilots and focusing on a specific area of the business, whether that's goods in and trialing the solution within there.
Thanks, Jeff. A couple more coming in. Would I need to upgrade my hardware at the same time, and is this something you guys can support with?
Yeah, another great question. So in terms of the hardware, it depends on the type of hardware we're using. PreBilt supports, as Danny talked about, the types of hardware we interface to, work with. So Android, iOS, Windows Desktop. In terms of if you've got that type of hardware already, we can use that and deploy the solution onto that. The only area where we'd need to look at a hardware refresh would be the very legacy old versions of SAP, whether that's CE or Windows Mobile. In terms of working with you on hardware, yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of joint approaches with some of our preferred partners for hardware. So yes, we can support that.
Okay, next question. I've noticed Neptune mentioned in the platform section. How does that relate to Mendix?
Yeah, so as mentioned, we work with the 3 different platforms. So we work with Mobilizer, with Honeywell, we work with Neptune, and we work with Mendix. So these are 3 different platform providers that we're able to provide our solution on top of. And we can go into more detail on that with yourselves.
Okay, and then the last question we have in is how does PreBilt compare to SAP Fiori?
Yeah, another excellent question. So in essence, with PreBilt, we're using the same user experience layer with SAP Fiori with UI5. SAP Fiori is very focused in terms of like tablet functions. There's very limited use cases of SAP Fiori for operations in terms of RF scanning. So within EWM, there's a couple of use cases for pick by cart, but in terms of operational scanning, SAP's approach is still ITS mobile. And the reason for that is the speed of the scanning, but also the RF technology that they use.
Okay, I think that's like we've had one more question around reference sites, but thanks for submitting that. We'll pick that up with you directly after this call. So unless there's any more questions, that is the end of our webinar. Thank you very much once again for all of you guys for joining. Thanks to Danny, thanks to Jeff. Please do reach out to us if you have any questions and would like to know more about PreBilt. Thank you and have a good day.